everybody. Thank you so much for joining in with us today. Thanks for coming to another one of our Grace Family Church services online. And maybe this is your first time watching one of our services, or maybe you're new to the Grace Family Church community altogether. And if you are, on the screen there is a number, and I'd encourage you, if you want to find out more about our church family, to text GFC guests to that number so that we can tell you a little bit more about ourselves. But thank you, everybody. Whether you're a regular Grace Family Church member or if this is your first time, thank you so much for joining us. I hope that today's service is encouraging and challenging to you. But so we've been in quarantine for about a month now, which that's a phrase I never anticipated saying in my life, which I think is how a lot of the bad things in our life tend to be. They tend to be things that we don't anticipate happening. We don't expect bad things to creep up on us, and we think, oh, it might happen to someone else, but never us. And then all of a sudden it's here, and we're in the midst of it. But no matter what hard times we go through, whether it is a quarantine or something else, we can hang on to the promises that Jesus has given us, that he will never leave us or forsake us, and that he has already overcome the world. And because of those promises, we can weather all storms in life, including quarantine. And so we're going to get through this. And so today, Pastor Tim, though, he's going to be starting us off in a new series called Hope, a conversation on mental wellness. And I think that this series is so perfectly timed for this season, a season where we're dealing with a lot of different thoughts and feelings and emotions. But we all need hope, and for all seasons. And mental health, mental wellness is such an important topic for us to be discussing. And so I hope that you join us each week as we look into these things. And as we dive into it, we want to spur on conversation, not just on Sunday mornings, but throughout our church family. And so one of the ways we're going to be doing this, and you might have already heard about this, but on Tuesdays, we're going to be doing a Thrive Time opportunity through online platforms. It's called Thrive at 6:35. And it's going to last just for about 25 minutes or so. And so today, at some point, you should be receiving a text with more info on how to sign up for that. It'll also be on our Facebook page. But we're just asking people to sign up so we can better prepare for how many groups to have and whatnot. But if you have trouble finding the information on how to sign up or need help with that, please contact myself, contact Pastor Tim or someone else, and we would love to get you plugged in with that opportunity. But thanks again for joining us, church family, for this church service online. I look forward to the day when we can do this again in person together, and I hope it's soon. Although I'll be honest with you, I am going to miss watching our Sunday service in my PJs on Sunday morning, which I'm sure a lot of us are doing right now. I mean, why not? I mean, we can, so why not? But anyway, I hope you enjoy our service and come away feeling encouraged and challenged as we start our new series and continue to learn how to live Jesus-centered lives.
praise to the Lord, our God and King. His love endures forever. For He is good, He is above all things. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise. The mighty hand and outstretched arm. His love endures forever. For the life that's been reborn, His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever. From the rising to the setting sun, His love endures forever. And by the grace of God, we will carry on. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear a rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When through the woods and forest glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees, and I look down from lofty mountain grandeur, and hear them roar, and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior God, sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with a shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
Darkness can appear in many different ways. It looks different for everybody. It may show up as depression or anxiety, loneliness. It could start in a case of trauma.
There are days when the darkness just seems to crowd in and just take hold of our lives. You know, things go on in our families, or a bad day at work, or a hard word from a friend. The darkness just seems to come in and cripple us and changes our perspectives. But in the midst of all this darkness, there is a glimmer of light.
Light brings clarity.
Light gives us warmth.
Light brings joy.
When light comes, we get a new perspective.
When more energy is provided to a source of light, the more darkness that it will expel.
Jesus is the light, and in him we have hope.
Well, hello everyone. Here at Grace Family Church, we talk a lot about our desire to help people live Jesus-centered lives. You've probably heard that a number of times if you're part of our local church family. And one of the additional things that we have, and we've talked about different times, is we have a list of 10 different statements that kind of outline what we do and what the sort of things that guide the decisions that we make. And one of the statements that we make is this. It says this: we think church should be a safe place to address any topic. We think church should be a safe place to address any topic. And with that in mind, for the next few weeks, we're going to be having a conversation about mental wellness. The topic of mental wellness and mental health and mental illness, it's a difficult topic. It's a difficult topic, and it's often avoided or sort of left unspoken about. And part of the reason that it's difficult to discuss within the church context as well is because it's so highly complex and highly personal in so many ways. But taking the time to have a conversation about this is so necessary. Because whether you realize it or not, everyone is affected by mental wellness and mental illness issues, whether it's personally, stuff that you deal with on your own, or whether it's in connection with people in your family, somebody that you love, or somebody that you work with, or somebody that you live nearby. This is a subject that the church must address, because silence ends up leading to people struggling in isolation, and that's not something that is honoring to God. as a result of the current COVID-19 crisis. Underlying emotional and mental health issues are kind of rising up to the surface even more in many people's lives. That the coping mechanisms that many struggling people have used in the past, they're just not cutting it when it comes to life becoming suddenly so different and so chaotic in so many ways. Many of the people who are usually able to sort of hold it all together are having a harder time right now. And just a few things I wanted to mention up front. I believe that some of you are going to look back at the current challenges and you're going to see them as a good thing. Perhaps it's because certain issues were brought to the surface and you were given the time or the motivation, or you were sort of pushed into sort of working through those things in some particular way in order to produce some sort of a healthy outcome. I believe there's going to be some of you that are going to look back and say, that was a good time of working through some stuff. Some of you, however, are going to look back at the current challenges as a time when your struggle became even more intense. Or when the coping mechanisms that you leaned into to help you survive and help you deal with stuff ends up turning into addictions or greater degrees of dysfunction and difficulty. But whatever the case may be, I believe the ultimate source of help for our emotional struggles and challenges is and always has been found in our growing faith and in our dependence upon the God who created you and loves you and cares for you more than you even realize. Whenever we discuss the topic of mental health and mental illness, it's important to remember that God never defines or sees people as an illness. You may have a chemical imbalance that impacts your mind and your brain's functioning in some way, but your chemical is not your character. And it's not a sin to be sick, and there's no shame in seeing a psychiatrist or in taking medications at the direction of healthcare professionals. To those of you who are or currently or you are currently struggling with mental and emotional health issues, please know this, just this statement: you are not the illness or the disorder. The illness or the disorder doesn't define who you are. Yes, it may be part of your journey, but know that God is not intimidated by it. The truth is, if you know Jesus, the Bible tells us clearly, and we can take great comfort and see great hope in the fact that you are called a child of God. You are referred to as one who is fully cherished, loved, and accepted by God. And God longs to reveal his compassion and hope to you at every step along the way. And let me just say to those of you who are looking after and taking care of people with mental illness, please know that God is with you on this journey. He's walking alongside of you as you walk this difficult road. And we're so thankful for the efforts and the sacrifices that so many of you have put in. To the church, this is not a topic that we can choose to ignore. Addressing hard topics with grace and compassion, with the goal of understanding the heart of God, it is crucial to loving well. The stigma that many people feel is real. And we must work to proactively combat it within our church and community so that we can be a place where all people can come to find the hope and the healing that comes from a relationship with Jesus. Please know that as we have these conversations over the upcoming weeks, and there'll be some different voices and different people sharing, just know we're not experts. We do desire, however, to have some conversations and to help some discussions take place and to share some insights that we've been learning along the way. Mental and emotional health issues are not a new phenomena. And when you read through the Bible, if you've read through different portions of the Bible, you'll see examples. Some of them are just little hints and others are just blatant examples of these kinds of challenges. Have a listen to King David in Psalm 42. He says these words. He says, "My heart is breaking as I remember how it used to be." He goes on, he says, "Why am I discouraged? Why is my heart so sad?" He says, "I cry, why have you forgotten me?" Does that sound like a bit of a plea for help there? The prophet Elijah, after a great victory over the prophets of Baal that we read about in 1 Kings 19, he said these words. He says, "I've had enough. I've had enough, Lord. Take my life, for I'm no better than my ancestors who have already died." The prophet Jonah, in the midst of some of those significant challenges and discomforts that he was feeling, he just cried out. He said, "Just kill me now, Lord. I'd rather be dead than alive." And you're perhaps familiar with the story of the righteous man Job when his world came crashing down around him. In Job 3, he said these words. He said, "Why wasn't I born dead? Why didn't I die as I came out of the womb? Why is life given to those with no future? Those God is surrounded with difficulties. Why? What I always feared," he says, listen to this, "what I always feared has happened to me. What I dreaded has come true." He says, "I have no peace, no quietness. I have no rest. Only trouble comes." Sounds like a lot of the things that we can end up feeling at different times. And the prophet Jeremiah, who was known as the weeping prophet, in chapter 20, he said this. He said, "Yet I curse the day I was born. May no one celebrate the day of my birth." Listen to this. He says, "I curse the messenger who told my father, 'Good news, you have a son.' Why was I ever born?" he says. "My entire life has been filled with trouble and sorrow and shame." It's a pretty honest, gut-wrenching emotion being expressed in those passages. Dealing with the intense challenges of emotions and feelings and anxiety and depression and fear and dysfunction, they're all part of being a human in this fallen and sinful world. Thankfully, the time is coming when God promises a new heavens and a new earth for those who know Jesus. And at that time, the Bible says this. It says that he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain. And what a day that will be. I can't wait for that. What a day that will be. But until that time, there will be a struggle and a challenge. For some people, it's going to be a challenge and a struggle more than others. But it's going to be a challenge nonetheless that affects all of us in some way or another. One of the things that people often fail to realize is that many of those who seem to have it all together are actually constantly battling with mental wellness issues on the inside. Many of the perfect posts that are seen on social media often have a backstory or an underlying foundation of insecurity and anxiety and struggle. Grace Family Church, we're doing this series in connection with our sister church Gateway in Parksburg. And I'd like you just for a few minutes to listen to some thoughts that my friend and fellow pastor Scott Feather is going to share here. He's going to share a few thoughts on some of the lies that we can come to believe when we're in a bit of a challenge spot and what we all need when it comes to these kinds of challenges. So let's just see if you can relate to some of the things that he shares now.
I don't know if you've ever had your mind begin to swirl out of control, or maybe that your heart just barely beats. And you were fine yesterday. And then today you wake up and there's just a dark cloud over you and it doesn't seem like there is any hope. And sometimes that darkness, I don't know about for you, but for me, sometimes that darkness can last days. Sometimes it just lasts a couple of hours. I've actually had it last weeks before. And I just begin to say to myself, what is going on, right? Have I lost my faith? Have I lost? So here's some of the things that I think can swirl in some of our minds. Number one, I don't matter. I don't matter. And again, very few of us have this feeling and it lasts like for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. But I'll bet you there are times, no matter, maybe there's been a tragic circumstance, maybe it's something we have done, maybe it's that friend who didn't call us back. But there is this sense that I don't matter. Here's another one that comes in. It's another lie. I don't fit in. I don't fit in. Everybody else is the in crowd. Everybody else gets the phone call to go out and, well, none of us are doing anything right now, right? But before, everyone else got the phone call to go out and do something, and there's just nothing for me. I don't fit in. Or maybe there's this feeling, I just want to give up. I just want to give up. And sometimes that give up actually means I want to take my life, or I hope that maybe God arranges some other way and I'm just gone. Or sometimes it just means I want to check out of society. I'm done. I want to give up. I don't measure up. I can't do this. I just want to give up. Here's another one. I feel useless. I feel useless. Maybe no matter how hard I try, maybe as I try, no one notices, or maybe when I try, even I know that what I do doesn't measure up to other people, because when I give my full effort, somebody else who gives half an effort gets in front of me. Well, then maybe the last one that we want to look at, I hate myself. I just completely hate myself. I hate everything about me. I hate my thought process. I hate the way I look. I hate the way I feel. I hate the way I smell. These are some crazy things that can be able to begin to swirl inside of our mind. So I guess my question is for you that are listening, I mean, have lies like this ever felt like truth to you? Have the lies of, I don't matter, I don't fit in, I want to give up, I feel useless, I hate myself, have those lies ever felt like truth? And here's the problem, because many days lies feel like the truth. Many days lies feel like the truth, and truth feels like a fairy tale. Meaning, someone says to us, I just don't think I matter. And like, sure you do. God loves you. Yes, that is the truth. But in that moment, that doesn't feel like truth. It feels like a fairy tale. Something that maybe exists for some people, but not for all of us. But I believe that these feelings can feel like truth to such a degree that it just takes over our life. I don't matter. I don't fit in. I want to give up. I feel useless. I hate myself. During these period of time, when these kind of things hit, whether they are for a day, a week, a month, or just a few hours, I think that we need a frame of reference in order to help us in times like this. I don't know about your family. We've been playing a lot of cards these days, right? So actually, I have Uno cards and Skip-Bo cards. My family is actually a Skip-Bo family, so we love Skip-Bo. But isn't it crazy, though, on those two things, they need to give you a frame of reference, right? The 9 and the 6 look exactly the same, especially in the Uno cards. They're the same colors. The 9 and the 6 look exactly the same, except for that line underneath the 6. It says to you, hey, this is a 6. The same thing with Skip-Bo. Even though they're different colors, there's a line under the 6. And so I'm telling you, that's a frame of reference that helps you when you're disoriented, when you're playing the game, to know what you're actually looking at. Another way to think about it is called spatial disorientation, or I guess the technical term is spatial D. So here's what it is. Spatial D is the term that pilots talk about when they are flying through a really, really dark storm cloud, and they cannot see the horizon and they can see nothing else. So everything is dark. And so what happens is their spatial disorientation gets all out of whack. And they think that they're flying this way when they're really flying upside down. And I'm not a pilot, so I'm like, how can you not know you're not flying the right way? But this is what they tell us, that spatial disorientation takes place and you begin to lose your focus. You begin to lose what is real. And so what pilots have to do is they have to rely on their instrument panel, not on their perception, because their perception is unreal. So spatial D is the inability to determine one's position, locale, or motion. You have no idea where you're at. And so maybe you've heard that phrase before. Some of you who are a little bit older, that's actually what brought down the plane that John F. Kennedy Jr. was flying when his plane went down in the Atlantic right off of Martha's Vineyard. And then even more recently, it hasn't been proven yet, but there's been many people who have thought that spatial D is actually what brought down Kobe's helicopter just a few weeks ago. And so just like pilots must trust their instruments, must trust their frame of reference, I think you and I have to have a frame of reference whenever we're going through these dark clouds. And so I think about it this way. Because many days lies feel like truth, and truth a fairy tale, every day we need a frame of reference. Every day we need a frame of reference, much like the lines on a card, much like the instrument panel on an airplane. We need a frame of reference to help us figure out where we are and what is truth and what is a lie.
We need a frame of reference. We need to rely on the instrument panel rather than our perceptions. Because often, he said, often lies feel like truth, and truth can feel like a fairy tale. We need a frame of reference because of that. What we believe to be true is perhaps the biggest influencer in our emotional and mental well-being. I believe that. What we choose to believe is perhaps the biggest influencer of our emotional and mental well-being. So many of the internal challenges that we face are related to the beliefs that we've come to adopt and the things that we've adopted or allowed to affect our functioning. Even for those who struggle legitimately with chemical imbalances in the brain. I've been involved with a number of situations over the years with people dealing with different levels of mental illness or just mental wellness challenges. And even for those that have legitimate things going on, chemical things going on, many of them would have shared with me how what they intentionally choose to believe impacts their well-being in a dramatic way. There are some things that can't be helped when struggling with mental illness. But that doesn't negate the responsibility that every person has to guard and protect which beliefs we choose to allow to govern our lives. And as Pastor Scott shared, it can be easy to believe various lies. Things like, I don't matter, or I don't fit in, or I just want to give up, or I feel useless, or I hate myself, and a whole bunch of other deceptions and lies that can come to the forefront. But the solution to being deceived by lies has always been to focus on the truth and to dwell on what is true. Hope in the midst of our struggles is found when we're willing to admit our struggles and be real about the way that we feel as we take steps towards embracing truth and finding the help and healing that God offers to us each day. In response to the fears and the anxieties and the worries that Jesus referred to in Matthew chapter 6, his wise counsel is what I believe is so key to what you and I deal with today. In Matthew chapter 6, we read these words, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." And I personally believe that applies to our mental wellness as well. We need a frame of reference. We need something to fix our gaze on and our direction on and our thoughts on. And Jesus in Scripture, he accurately describes himself as the way, the truth, and the life. And seeking after him and choosing to believe what is true about him and about ourselves, I believe is key in the battles that we face in pursuing emotional and mental wellness. And for those of you that are listening here and you may not struggle with mental wellness issues, the truth is that everybody needs a frame of reference. The responsibility that is given to everybody who chooses to follow Jesus is to pursue what is referred to as Christ-likeness. To look to Jesus as the reference point for how we live and how we should act and what we should focus our lives and our attentions on. And as we continue this conversation, I want to encourage you to do 4 things. Just as we sort of bring this little part to a close. I want to encourage you to have a casual follow-up conversation with somebody that you know about what's been shared today. Perhaps it's somebody in your home that you watched along with. Maybe it's somebody else in our church family that you can call them up or text them or message them in some way and just perhaps ask the question. Ask the question, hey, what did you think about what was shared? Was there anything that stood out? Did you agree or did you disagree, and why? Have a little conversation with somebody about this. The second thing that I want to encourage us to do is to connect in with the daily devotional readings that start tomorrow. Every day, around the middle of the day, for the next 25 days, we're going to be putting out these devotional readings, and they don't take a long time to do. It's a short passage of scripture to look up, and then some questions and a few things to work through. Those readings are going to be available on our Facebook pages, but you can also sign up to receive a daily text message with the daily devotional, and we encourage you to do so. For those who are part of our local church family, one of the other things that you've already heard mentioned is we encourage you to join in with our Thrive Time discussion. We're having Thrive at 6:35 this coming Tuesday, and it's going to be an online conversation, a video chat, and you can call in as well, but it's going to be a video chat, and we hope that many of you will set aside the time to join us for a little bit more conversation about this important topic. Fourth thing I want to encourage you to do is to pray for those who are struggling right now. Perhaps you know the names of some. Perhaps you don't. Perhaps you're the one that needs to pray for yourself and where you're at and where your family's at with all of this. But let's look to God and let's pray for God to be at work in meeting each person where they're at and helping them take next steps of growth and healing. One passage I wanted to mention here to you, just as we wrap up, it's a familiar passage found in Philippians chapter 4, and it talks a little bit about focus and what to look for, or what to look towards. And in it, the Apostle Paul said these words. He says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." And he goes on and says, "Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." Would you join me just in a word of prayer? Lord God, we thank you for the chance to have a conversation about this important topic. And we recognize that there are so many people going through so many struggles right now. Maybe somebody that's watching this video right now is in a pretty challenged place. And I pray, God, that you would help us rely on you, that you would help us to reach out to others for some of the support and the assistance to navigate through the challenges that come up. Thank you for being a God who cares about us, who cares about the stuff that we're going through, for a God who ultimately does have all the answers that we need and who can be trusted fully. Help us to do that. And thank you for the good work that you're doing in the lives of some people right now in helping them work through and deal with some of the stuff that perhaps has been needed to be dealt with for a number of years. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, thank you for joining us today. You're welcome to comment on our Facebook page if you'd like to, and reach out if you need some help signing up for some of the things that we just mentioned. And as we continue to sort of have our church at home, may God bless you and grow you all this coming week. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.
Hi, church family. This is the Wangers, Rosine, Keegan, Kaylee, Kaden, and Matt's holding the camera. Wishing you all well during this quarantine, and we are thankful for this year. Kaden, what are we thankful for?
Jesus died on the cross for our sins.
Thanks for joining us today for the first week of our new series called Hope, a Conversation on Mental Wellness. I'm excited to have this series over the next several weeks discussing something that is very timely and very personal to many of us. Also, we will be providing a daily devotional via a link on Facebook. If you would also like to receive that link as a text message, there will be a sign up for that. More information will be provided for that later today. If there is technical issues with the devotional, please feel free to reach out to Pastor Tim or Pastor Andrew. I also want to take this time to remind everybody that we have the opportunity for online giving to continue to show our generosity and help our church be a light in the community for Jesus. And so I hope you all have a great rest of your day and an awesome week.